Good morning, Cadet 630. I'm Cadet Soderstrom. We're on with Cadet Spivey over
Hmm.
here, one of our AS 100s. How are you doing this morning, Cadet
I'm doing
Spivey?
pretty good. How about yourself?
I'm doing outstanding this morning. A little bit in end of semester grind right now, but we're getting through it. And that's all you can do, right?
Pretty much. Like this semester has definitely been a challenge or a transition at least, but I'm powering through it as best as I can.
Absolutely. That's the way to do it. So I just want to start out with kind of your background, things you've done before ROTC and what's kind of led up to this first semester, first week.
Okay, so I'm coming from Prince George's County, Maryland, or just the DMV area in general. I did Air Force, JROTC all throughout high school. I was in a good amount of positions, and I ended off like senior year being the group commander. I also did Civil Air Patrol while I was there. I was a squadron commander for my specific unit. And also those previous units, MD2 Double O Deuce Deuce. If I'm gonna show them this podcast because they're gonna understand what I just said. And Bowie Composite Squadron ND 052 for Civil Air Patrol. Through JROTC, I was able to get my pilot's license, and that was an experience in itself. We can talk about that a little bit more later. And during my time throughout JRTC, I was able to be a commander in a few different roles. Like I said, I ended off as group commander for any of the different programs that we did, like first year orientation camp or the cadet officer leadership program. I was able to participate in those as well. So it kind of all that kind of led up to me doing ROTC here as well. And I would have to say, like, to get here at Kent specifically, my mentor played a very big role in that. Shout out to Major Stovall. He graduated. He was a Kent State alumni.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he graduated from Kent. He went through the RTC program. Went through the piloting program. So like everything I'm doing right now is everything
It's
that
pretty
he
much
did.
what he
It is
did. Yeah,
exactly what he did. So it's like a big full circle moment, or it'll become full circle once I commission and everything. So that's how I ended up here. It's
that's awesome. So he became a pilot too through the Kent State program, and then
yes.
ended up getting navigator, right?
Yeah, he was a navigator for it was oh boy, I did a whole presentation on it. The airborne warning and control system, something of that nature. He was a navigator for such as like maybe like 100 something years. He never told us his real age, so so yeah, that was a very big part of my entire JFTC career, where he would just tell us stories about how he's a navigator. And if you go, I'm trying to at least paint a picture here. If you go to the JRTC wing in our high school, the picture, like someone painted a mural of the plane that he flew
Oh, are you kidding?
on the wall. Yeah, so it was pretty serious. It was definitely pretty serious. But he definitely played a big role in me getting to where I am today as
That's
a good
awesome.
student.
Is there a major difference between AFROTC in college and then
Oh yeah,
JROTC and CAP? Is there
yeah.
a big learning curve there?
There wasn't that well. Okay, I think there wasn't that much of a learning curve because a lot of what I learned in JRTC definitely transferred over to FROTC. It wasn't that difficult of a transition. I would say like drill was probably the easiest thing for me to pick back up on because it's something
Hmm.
we did every single day with JROTC. I think the biggest learning curve is just different certain processes and everything. Of course, everything was a lot more lax in JROTC since we're on a high school level. But as soon as you jump into your like a collegiate level, of course, since I'm a first year, it's still pretty lax. It's something I have to kind of ease my way into. There's definitely a world of difference between the two, at least in terms of seriousness. That's actually something I really like about ROTC. I'm surrounded by people who are passionate about it. They really want to be here. With JRTC, the most common thing is that either A, people get dropped into the class, which they're not supposed to do. That's a voluntary course. They either get dropped into the class just to fill up their schedule, or it's like they join and they're like, I don't really know if I want to do this. But it's nice to be surrounded by a lot of people who actually want to do everything. And I think the biggest difference for me at least were just certain opening procedures for classes. and everything, or I guess just the connection that we have with like upperclassmen, because it was very, very weird for JROTC. Of course, a lot like everybody knew everybody, and I guess I can say the same thing here, but there is definitely a different power dynamic here. Not in a bad way, not in a bad
Yeah.
way at all. Something that I really appreciate that, at least from what I've been told, Cadet Woodford, she established very early on that all the upperclassmen are supposed to help the underclassmen. So I really appreciate that. But just certain processes, getting up at 6:30 every day to do PT,
That's definitely been a transition for sure.
getting up to do PT, doing extracurriculars and everything, or just finding time in my schedule to do those extracurriculars. It's a balance. So I guess just time management, and just certain procedures are the only real differences I see between
Absolutely.
JRTC.
Yeah, and that's and you touched on kind of that GMC and POC kind of power dynamic there.
Yeah.
And that was something that we went into this semester, and it's definitely transitioned to something where it's more of a mentorship or process to where that
Hmm.
line is a little bit blurred. And we talked about it on this podcast because and that's something we're looking to do just so that GMC feel more comfortable
Hmm.
in this setting and there's some growth through that. So that's something we've definitely focused on. So
Hmm.
hopefully we're still working towards that direction for
Yeah.
sure. So
That's actually something I really appreciate, especially like in the beginning of the semester where we were paired up with different mentors. I really, really like that.
who's
Um,
your mentor?
my mentor is actually my flight commander at Cadet McCullough.
Oh,
So it's
awesome.
like, she's a already. I believe she already has a pilot slot. Yeah, she already has a pilot slot. So it's like any insight I can get from her, any feedback I can get from her is highly beneficial to like my development here. So
Mhm.
it was. I was like, yes, I got my. I was like, yes, I got my flight commander. So it's. I really, really appreciate that everyone, especially like the upperclassmen, take on like a mentorship role, and they're not just like freshmen.
Yeah.
They're not just sicker freshmen.
Yeah, exactly. When
Um,
I first got it was a little bit more of a different
uh,
process to where it was like, all
the
right, you got to greet in the morning. Yeah, of course, like that's something
oh
but
god, the
it's like
greetings.
the approach was the difference, right? It was a
Uh,
little bit of a harsher approach,
we
I would
were
say.
we were
So
told to be extremely annoying with the greetings,
yeah.
which I like. I'm
When in doubt,
when
salute it out, right?
exactly, but like as we go through the years here, it's gonna get increasingly more annoying for me. Even right now, I say good morning every time I pass somebody, so
Morning.
I'm doing my best with it. I'm doing my best with it. But I really okay, the mentorship here is really good. Overall camaraderie is also really good as well. I can't say that I've been to too many Air Force ROTC detachments, but I definitely like the connection that everyone has here. Even if you don't know someone completely on a personal level, you can still approach them with that same amount of respect, and you're gonna get that kind of respect back. And it's just you can just have good conversations with people. If you need help with something, a lot of people are very willing to help you, which is something I really really appreciate. Like I said, JROTC and Air Force ROTC, it's a world of
It's
difference.
definitely I could imagine for sure. So overall your experience has been pretty good
Oh,
here.
yeah, it's been great actually.
Okay.
It's been really, really
That's
good.
awesome. And then from your perspective, everything as far as like lead lab and everything, has that been, you feel like that's been very beneficial?
The
Lead labs and the PMT events, that's been pretty beneficial. I know we've been putting a lot of work into the PTs and
highly.
like this morning, I love that workout. Getting to actually hit the gym.
Oh
I
yeah,
don't
because
think
like
in all the years I've been able to hit the gym.
I haven't I don't really use a whole lot of equipment whenever I exercise. So I was like, yes, this is my time. This is my time to do this. PMT events and Lead Lab, they've been great in my opinion. They've been really, really good, especially since we do something different, or for each lead lab we build on whatever we did previously. And something else I like is that, so every now and then I go to BCL,
Oh,
the
you do
class,
make it over to
every
BCL
like
classes then?
whenever I
Okay.
really can, I go to BCL night flight and everything. Whenever I can make it, I notice that anything that they teach there, they get to exercise those leadership skills during lead lab, which is something I find really cool. I'm excited to be doing that next year too.
Yeah.
But all the lead labs and all of the different events that have been hosted thus far have been great, in my opinion.
Awesome. Yeah, we had a lot of fun during what was it, dining in.
Oh God.
That was fun. That was awesome. That was definitely a rip for sure.
Yeah, definitely Delta Flight got sent to the ground like 2 times.
How
That
did it
was
taste?
it tasted like mm, it tasted like it had a lot of love and care in it.
Yeah. I mean, when my first year, those grogs were pretty gross.
They
They were like
were being friendly to us this time. They had what was it coconut milk? I don't know if it was coconut
it was
milk or
like
not.
coconut milk and Red Bull or
It was
something.
Red
It
Bull. We
really
provided the
wasn't
Red
bad.
Bull. I think that's why I was so hyped up for a
Yeah.
bit because of the Red Bull. But all the events have been extremely, extremely fun. As for lead labs, something else I really like that kind of built onto BCL is well, is some of BCL being like auxiliary commanders or just instructors or
Mhm.
mentors for the rest of the flight. So it's like while everyone else is still whatever tasks we're given for that day, whatever we're practicing, some of the BCL and even POC they are kind of like walking around, make sure everyone's okay, giving little notes and feedback, which I really appreciate. I love getting feedback from people. That's really
Yeah,
good.
and definitely from the POC perspective on that, we've pushed this semester. Before it was you'd have some people off on the side, but now we're trying to push that POC
Right.
engagement, whether it's getting in the flight and helping out, or always being engaged. No side conversations or anything. So
Right.
that's been one of those things. And I also you mentioned BCL night flights and everything as a 100, right? So and that's something I didn't take advantage of my first year,
Mm.
right? And that set me back about a year, I would say,
Mm-hmm.
because and I didn't see the importance of it at the time.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's a great thing just to step into those positions and kind of see what's going on with BCL because like I think one thing is a 100 you kind of have the blinders on and you don't really think of maybe drill or especially those people that haven't you've done some drill so you kind of understand it but it's about kind of being a little bit ahead of the game. And that stuff does matter when you get down to field training is the drill and the
Yeah.
marching and those leadership environments. The more you can get into
Right.
them, the better,
Right.
right?
I've been
So,
told that like especially drill is going to be very important before the drill evaluations that they do at field training. They've been practicing them for the past few nights at
oh,
night flight.
I
I
if
believe
I
they have.
didn't practice those, I don't know if I would have ever been able to do them.
And it's like the more you go there, the more involved they start to like the more 100s go there, the more involved they get with the BCL class. My first little experience with being in a leadership position, we just started doing flight drill evaluations, and we marched over to a parking lot, right? And as they're doing their flight drill evaluations, that instructor instructed me to like walk around the little cube. If they go outside of the designated zone,
And
just
they make it super small too.
yeah, it's extremely small. I thought it was gonna be a lot bigger. So for JRTC, we do something called the 30 command drill sequence. We do it every time we have a unit evaluation. I think they're in the middle of unit evaluations right now. Now that I think about it,
Really?
um, we do the 30 command drill sequence, but instead of having that small box, we have like the entire parking lot to do it.
Oh, you kidding?
So
So it's a
it's
whole
like
nother
exactly we
animal
have the
here.
entire parking lot, and then when they started setting up for flight drill evaluations, I saw like this 4x4 square. I was like, oh,
You're
this.
like, wait a minute here, what's going on?
But I understand why they do it. It's definitely going to be a challenge to the flight commander to make sure they can actually stay within those parameters. So I understand it.
Yeah, everything has to be very precise. You got
Right.
to make sure you know exactly where you're calling your commands.
Right.
And
So for one night flight, they were doing their flight drill evaluations. The instructor came up to me on a scale of 1 to 10. How confident are you with leading like a drill evaluation? I was like, maybe a 7-ish. He was like, okay, you're gonna go in next. I was like, oh, that's fine.
throw
And
you in, right?
yeah, it just threw me to the wolves. But it was a really good learning moment. Cadet Stricker and Cadet Shriner are always very, very helpful when it comes to at least building up cadets. As intense as it might seem at Night Flight and BCL class, I understand why it's going on. So it's like I don't take anything to heart. And I hope that other people don't take it to heart either.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just
I
for
I hope there's an awareness there with that to where it's just a they're trying to simulate that stress, and like you said,
Right.
like you just don't take it personally,
Whereas
right?
I
You
don't.
just go in there, they're just trying to make you better.
Exactly. That's why I don't really take it to heart. I will admit sometimes it's kind of funny because I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, okay.
Sometimes I let my emotions get the best of
Yeah.
me. Some of those FTP nights when I
Hmm.
was around, but you try to just look at it subjectively,
Right.
right? So,
Exactly.
I kind of want to transition into. I know we talked about how it's been going, but kind of what would you see as far from your perspective, because you have a fresh set of eyes on everything
Hmm.
we got going on. What kind of improvements would you see, or what would you like to see from the detachment?
From the detachment, well, I mean, we already host quite a few events where cadets can really connect with each other and just get to know each other. So I would say host more of those, but we already host a good amount of events. It's just
Hmm.
finding the time to actually go to said events. I know that, especially those who are getting closer to going to field training and those of us who are just trying to ease our way into college, it can be difficult sometimes to make it to some of those events. So, um, I guess just making more opportunities available for us to connect with each other or just having the time to see each other very often. It's like more often than not, and anytime I walk up to people or I talk to people during lead lab or anything, I have to be like, "Oh, what flight are you in again?" Like a
Exactly.
few times over until I like hammer into my head, okay, they're in this flight.
And then kind of even like, so would it almost be one of those things where you prefer a bunch of small events on a continual basis, like on a
Yeah.
weekly basis, maybe just have like a video game hangout or something
Oh,
like
that would be
that in
great.
the miss one. I remember that was one of my favorite nights. We had like a Mario
Did you guys
night
do
or
that
something.
Mario night?
Yeah, it
Was
was
it?
awesome, and we had pizza and stuff, and that was cool. But if you do like those small continual events, and I think POC office hours kind of does a good job at that, kind of
They
creating
do a very good
good
job.
open atmosphere for that. Those are kind of those nice weekly events. They have a little bit more like cadet development esque
Hmm.
behind them, but like you said, completely locked off events.
Right.
Maybe
Hopefully,
more often would be a good
hopefully,
job. And cadet 100s and 200s could definitely put those events together too. I
mhm.
know in the past I've done a yearly paintball event. That's always
Oh
fun.
boy.
So
From
they
what
always have those available.
the first year, like the 100s, we get like more leadership opportunities going into the spring. Or maybe it might go to the BCL because they're getting ready for field
Yeah, I
training.
mean that was speaking of leadership events, or leadership opportunities actually. Um, they've actually been kind of getting on that a little bit earlier, giving you guys that opportunity to get up there and
Right,
start leading PT.
right.
So, um,
That was an
how
experience.
was that
That
this
was
morning?
definitely an experience. Last night I was because Cadet Piranha he sent me the little script that we needed to go over, and it's like okay, I've done this enough times before where I kind of know the process of everything, and it was actually really fun. Um, I had to make sure I didn't strain my voice, definitely. But um, it was a really, really good leadership opportunity for me, at least to at least get used to being up in front of everybody. Although I am somewhat used to being in front of that many people, I was more so nervous because I was in front of like POC. So I was like, ooh, oh boy, the
So
entire
you were a little bit
I was like
nervous
the
though.
entire wing staff is watching me right now. But once I got up there and I just got into everything, there's that and those cadets that were in the flights next to me, they were like, you're doing a great job. I was like, okay, okay, this is fine. I'm doing good. So just knowing that people kind of had my back with it is what gave me a confidence boost while I was there. And I had to kind of go in with a sense of confidence, even with calling like ears or something. I had to make sure that
Yeah, I'd say the command presence on that was incredible. Boom! Everybody snapped to attention on that one. That was awesome. So
yeah,
you
it's
really got everybody going,
I
and I
think I
thought that was
scared
a
somebody.
great. Yeah, I think Shudik was said he's a little scared on that one, but hey,
Shooting?
as
Scared to
long,
shoot? Oh
oh
god.
man, but as long as like you got everybody going, you got everybody there on time, and I
Right.
think that's a great opportunity too. And that might be definitely an idea too to keep give 100s more of a leadership opportunity too. But
Right.
um,
I was really, really like, ooh, what did we get? Because I know that BCL had a takeover. I was like, ooh, what did the 100s gonna have a takeover? I was like, ooh, that's gonna be difficult to plan, but it can actually happen sometime in the future, even if it's not with my 100 class, even if it's another 100 class. I would like to see that at some point if they take the initiative with it. Of
yeah,
course, like we
you
can't
said like
just
a 100 takeover then
right.
instead of
But so
interesting.
we can't just throw them in there like, oh, okay, go ahead, plan
Yeah,
this. We have to actually see if they want to take that up and take the responsibility and take that up with
and
themselves
that could definitely be an idea for sure. Depending on
at some point.
who takes wing commander next semester or
Hmm.
whatnot, definitely an idea. And
Oh
something one thing
yeah,
I found out too throughout what I do is being in leadership role, it's all about trust, right?
right.
And you got to also understand that most of the time, if like people are like really quick to blame somebody or people for not um, doing something correctly or doing something right, but most of the time it's a reflection of yourself
Hmm.
and your leadership, and you should really look at where did I go wrong,
Hmm.
so that might be like maybe a trust thing. I don't know, but it also might be one of those things like I also understand that everybody kind of has that in them, and they have that, we're all in college and we all have that, we're able to take that initiative and do good things, like BCL had a
Right.
great takeover. It was incredible,
It was
right?
fun.
It
It was
was
very fun.
very creative and it was
Right.
awesome. I had a great time on it.
I
So
say, having to find a bomb and everything, and getting the call Star Command, which was really just Cadet LaChapelle looking at us menacingly from the second floor. But everything, it was actually very, very entertaining. So something that I find is that the more you put yourself out there, even like you can be loud and wrong. The
Mhm.
more you put yourself out there, and the more you try to correct yourself, and the more you try to, I guess, just improve yourself, and the more people see that improvement, the more they're going to trust you.
Absolutely.
That's something I've been trying to do a lot more. Is like today was a testament to that, because they sent out in the GMC group chat like, oh, we may have a spot for a leading PT. I was like, yes, let me
Yeah,
complete.
let me take
I was
it.
like, let
That's
me
the way to do it because
complete.
it's all about taking that initiative and just getting
Right,
after it, right? Like even if you completely bomb and it's like you took the initiative and you tried your best,
right,
right? And
exactly.
this is an environment where you can take those opportunities to
That's it.
get after it.
Major Cummins always tells us this during 100 class. Like, this is your time to fail. Like, this is
Exactly.
the perfect time for you to fail and get better at doing these things before you hit field training, before you hit active duty and everything. So this is the time now to get things wrong and correct it and just do better. So like I said, the more you put yourself out there, and the more you put yourself out there, the more your confidence grows. I can definitely tell you that
Absolutely.
much. The more people start to put their trust in you, and that alone is a confidence booster. Like anytime I'm called on to command something, I was like, okay, they trust me enough to command something. That's something I really appreciate, and that's something I want to continue to foster among everybody.
Absolutely.
So it's like even though I'm a 100, like everyone is perfectly capable of commanding in some way, shape, or form, or just
That's yeah,
being in a leadership
exactly.
role. So
Exactly.
it's like
Perfectly capable.
as long as you put yourself out there, like you'll get it. You will get it.
Absolutely.
Um,
So
this
I kind of want to start getting into like looking forward and kind of what your plans are
okay,
and what your goals and ambitions are for
hmm,
ROTC and maybe beyond for your career.
right.
So,
So going the officer route, I do want to be a combat systems officer. That is the closest I can get to being a navigator. Like I said, my mentor, Major Stovall, he was an alumni at Kent State, and he went on to be a navigator, and that's something I really look up to him. I can tell you that much. My first year at JRTC was virtual, which was
oh,
an experience on its own.
brutal.
Like we were fresh out of middle school, going into COVID and everything. Went to high school virtually. I didn't step foot into the high school till maybe like third quarter,
Oh, wow.
which was it was an experience in its own. But at first I was not sure if I even wanted to do JROTC because when we selected our classes, it said aerospace science. It did not have JROTC in parentheses. It said aerospace science. So we get on the Zoom for like orientation and everything, and I see this big Air Force logo. I'm like, hmm,
Wait a minute here.
class, but he said stick with me for like 1 week, and it grew on me a lot. it,
Awesome.
it grew on me enough to stay in for 4 years and become the group commander. So, um, and just coming here and kind of following in Major's footsteps, it feels like full circle moment. There's that, and process of like navigation. When I started doing more research on the position itself, the process of navigation is something, even during my private pilot training, is something I really enjoyed, as much as I hate doing flight planning sometimes.
It's a lot of work.
It's a lot of work. That's actually something we're doing right now in my elements of flight theory class. We just started doing flight planning,
Oh
and
man.
like my
Dead
instructor
reckoning and pilotage.
was say,
Gotta love it.
she handed me this nice she handed me like the chart supplement. She said, "Okay, you're gonna need this tomorrow." I'm like, that's not gonna be fun. But it's actually something. As much as I complain about it, it's actually something I really enjoy. When I was in my pilot training, I got my pilot's license in Oklahoma, Spartan College of Aeronautics and Technology. I will always rep that college too. um, when I was getting my pilot's license, navigation and doing the flight planning, although it was very tedious, I created like a whole process for myself. I broke it down into multiple parts, which is something that a lot of people should do, or they should be doing already. Break it down to multiple parts and map out where I'm going to be going and everything. And actually getting in the plane and following that flight plan and seeing what went right, what went wrong. I love that process because
Yeah,
it's like, okay, I can improve on this next time. Maybe next time I have to plan according to this path. Like everything of that nature is something I really enjoyed that whole process. Or it just, I guess it's because I'm very very meticulous about making sure that everything, not, I'm not exactly a perfectionist, but just make sure that things go according to plan. I really enjoy that. Or it's something that's been kind of ingrained into me ever since, like, I've seen a lot of things go wrong, whether it's from planning events, I guess just operating with other people. Because of how I've seen a lot of things go wrong, I strive to make sure that everything goes right.
absolutely. Yeah, and that's always cool. And the cool part about navigation and planning is that you actually it's kind of measurable as well because
Right,
you're off. You could be off so far, and you could get yourself back on track. And there's
right.
always next time. Hey, let me account for the winds loft a little bit better,
Oh
right?
God.
So
But
really interesting for sure.
yeah, every part of the navigation process is something I really enjoy. And with the combat, being a combat systems officer, you have to be knowledgeable about every aspect of the aircraft airframe you're in. So that's something else I'm also very interested in. I don't know which airframe I'm looking at just yet. That ask me maybe like
The
next
best
year.
one.
Right, the best one.
Well, they're all the best one.
Maybe give me like till next year. I'll figure it out by then. But that's what I'm shooting for right now.
Awesome.
I also had Air Battle Manager kind of in the back of my mind, but I have to do more research into that. So I'll get there eventually.
Absolutely. You still got a few more years ahead of you and just enjoy the process,
Hmm.
right? That's the best part about it. Well, anything else you had to say on the podcast, Cadet Spivey, before we wrap up?
No, not really. I just really appreciate this opportunity.
Absolutely. Thanks for coming
I'm
on.
not sure how a lot of the other 100s feel. I hope that more 100s come on at some point so I can hear about their experiences as well. But I hope I'm speaking for a few of the 100s when I say that so far this program's been great to me. I can't wait to see what I'm going to be doing, especially next year. especially, especially next year. Ooh, BCL is going to be fun. I wonder who the
It's
BCL
always
director's going
fun.
to be.
We'll see. It's
That's going to
always
be
up in
him.
the air.
It is up in the air right now.
Awesome. Well,
But
Cadet
that's all.
Spivey, thanks for coming on. Dead 630, thanks for listening, and we'll see you guys next time.